A very good afternoon. It is Saturday, and welcome to the European Outlook for today. I hope everybody is well, safe wherever you are. This is the rainfall projections of the GFS for total accumulated precipitation through now and Monday, the 25th of December. Yes, we're getting into the time frame now that we can look at these models and actually see now what they're showing with regards to the Christmas period here. It's still a long way off, but nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see how they go back and forward, bounce between different scenarios in the run up to Christmas here. You can see here, this is off the GFS ensemble, the upcoming 5 days, low pressure firmly in charge. That is going to deliver more rain to what we've already seen, and we've seen a tremendous amount of rainfall, especially across southern areas of the UK, also parts of the north, and it's been quite a lot of variability with regards to the heavy rainfall in recent days. But nonetheless, we are going to continue to see that barrage off the Atlantic. Phase 4 of the Magellan Oscillation we're in at the moment, we are expected to go into Phase 5 and 6. It will weaken in amplitude, so we are going to start to see a little bit less likely push, drive, and pressure put on by the Magellan Oscillation in the mid to upper latitude pattern. But nonetheless, you can see here that we are going to see higher pressure building in. That is also indicative of the Magellan Oscillation continuing to progress eastwards. No, I'm not just looking at one individual model run and then making a video on that. I have seen a couple of interesting comments in the videos talking about a few things. When I referenced December 2015, I know that we're not in a super El Nino at the moment, and there is quite big differences between 2015 and 2023. But what I want to say is that all these things have to get looked at. It's essentially leaving no stone unturned. And I want to emphasize that point, that while I've got the ideas in the winter forecast, be sure to check out the winter forecast, because I think there is a few folk that are looking at things and seeing it through the eyes that they want to see. They're kind of reading into things that they want to read or see. But I'm trying to show you every aspect that needs to be taken into consideration with regards to the overall ideas here. So there has been a tremendous amount of work, many hours of hard work put into that forecast, and I don't want you to just kind of pick and choose things out of it to kind of suit yourself or your own, not agenda, if you will, but people. There's people out there that have this bias towards a warm winter. They want to see a warm winter, and I get that. Also, equally, there's people that are wanting to see a cold winter. I'm trying to meet in between and show you exactly what I see happening, and we are moderate to strong El Nino territory. Nino region 3, 4, and 1.2 was in excess of 2 Celsius above average. That is strong El Nino territory, and the warm bias, east bias of the El Nino has to be taken into consideration. We cannot just simply look at what we want to see happen. I have to be as straight up and as unbiased as I possibly can. Now, the current spell that we've got going at the moment was highlighted back away even before the cold spell arrived, that we would see a warm spell taking place into the middle portion of December. Now, higher pressure is expected with the progress of the MJO rotating out of Indonesia and towards the western portion of the Pacific Ocean. I do expect that we will see the NAO and potentially the AO going back into negative territory. Speaking of the NAO, you can see here that it is in positive territory. It's expected to stay in positive territory through at least the 18th, 20th of December here. So therefore, we should maintain this largely Atlantic-driven pattern. The Arctic Oscillation interestingly enough, kind of goes towards neutral, and then it goes slightly back negative once again. So I think that's quite interesting to see here. Also, the high pressure that we've got a very, very big contrast at the moment over Europe. As of this morning, that is the time of recording actually, we've got minus 40 in Western Russia, while we've got 13 Celsius in Southern Ireland here. So big, big contrast. We have got this push of Atlantic air, courtesy of areas of low pressure moving in off the Atlantic. That is pushing mild Atlantic air into western portions of Europe, and essentially that's pushing the cold air out of Scandinavia. Still cold, but notice we've not got the minus 20s, even minus 30s that we did have a few days ago. We're also seeing temperatures, a big contrast between eastern versus western Germany, but still cold over Eastern Europe here, relatively mild across Turkey. But look at the pressure chart here. It would actually help if we can get to the right chart. In fact, windy conditions in the west, lighter winds further east, as you can see here. But look at the pressure. Vast contrast between a 1052 millibar area of high pressure over Russia versus the 980 to 982 millibars over the west coast of Ireland here. So that is a pressure gradient of about 71, 72 millibars between each point, and we have got a temperature difference of 52, 53 Celsius. So a big contrast, big extremes taking place over the continent of Europe, as you can see here. One particular location, hard to pronounce, but also hard to see. Temperature dropped down to minus 42.4 Celsius. Now, I believe this is on the European side of the border between Asia and Europe. And if that's the case, this may in fact be the coldest temperature recorded in Europe so far this winter. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section below, but that may be the case, that we're talking about the coldest temperatures of the entire season so far in the European side of the border. What is quite interesting, if we look at of course, like I've already said, this is the precipitation, tremendous amounts of rainfall in the parts of the well, it's obviously fallen as snow, but some significant amounts of precipitation across the north side of Iberia, the Alps, down into the Balkan region. Parts of eastern Turkey is getting hammered as well, as you can see, and Central Europe, separating the high from the east and low pressure from the west. Upslope areas of Western Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and also Western Scotland is going to get in on some very significant amounts of rainfall over the next 10 days or so here, and that's going to exacerbate an already re-established wet pattern that we've got. We started off the month of December on a fairly dry note overall, but we're catching up once again. What's going to be quite interesting is the amount of rainfall that was seen during October and November. Joe Bastardi of Weatherbell said about 10, 12 years ago that where the heaviest rainfall goes, sometimes that's where the cold trough wants to go further down the road. And the point I'm trying to make is that we've seen excessive rainfall across the northern half of the UK in particular during the month of October. Then that shifted to southern UK into the north of France during the month of November. Then we've seen the cold spell arrive the end of November into early December. Now the pattern has changed once again. We're back into a very wet regime. The question is, as we move towards the Christmas New Year period, is this a harbinger of what we've already seen happen before? And I really am a great believer in repeating patterns. The firm negative NAO pattern during July and August delivered, the wettest July on record for Northern Ireland. I think 8th wettest overall for the UK. And the pattern has been on a repeat cycle for the majority of this year, in fact. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we go down the road. So let's have a look at and see what the overview chart is showing here. This is for Christmas Day, and you notice here that we've got largely high pressure and control. area of low pressure over Germany. We're seeing heavy snowfall across parts of Denmark, into parts of the Low Countries as well. And my assumption would be that 850 temperatures are on the chilly side, and lo and behold, they are. Now, I get the fact that this is one GFS operational. We're talking a long way down the road. It's going to chop and change. I get that. And, like I've already re-emphasized the point, the posting yesterday talking about the mild option cannot be ruled out for this winter. This, folks, is me covering everything with regards to the winter forecast, looking at the drivers, looking at the variability within those drivers. This El Nino is definitely not a typical El Nino situation here. The IOD, the negative, quasi-biennial oscillation. Solar, I was asked, am I, taking into consideration the fact that we're essentially in a solar maximum at the moment? Yeah, I have. Check out the winter forecast. It's all in there, and albeit it's touched on fairly briefly. It's fairly simplistic, but nonetheless, it has been included in the overall equation, if you will. It's my equation of looking at all the aspects, all the drivers, taking in all the variability in the context as well, the warmer world that we have versus 10, 12, 15 years ago, and the QBO, El Nino, possibility of a sudden stratospheric warming. We'll look at the stratospheric warming situation in the next couple of days. Also, the global weather and climate report coming up tomorrow. We'll look at the finer details. But let's get back to the chart that I want to look at here. So this is today, and you can see here an area of low pressure at 978 millibars pushing into the UK. We're going to see spells of more heavy, persistent rainfall, gusty winds along the southern flank of that low, that centre of low pressure moving across Northern Ireland, down across parts of Ireland, into northwest England, West Wales, southwest England. Generally, the southern half of both Ireland and the UK will see some very strong winds through the course of today. Lighter winds across more northern areas to the north of the centre. But let's have a look and see at the pressure difference. Is quite stark. So we've got that 1051 millibar area of high pressure, that block of cold air that essentially extends from Eastern Europe all the way across to the far east of Russia at the moment. And that is something that I'll look at in tomorrow's global weather report. So stay tuned. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button for the big, broad picture and some, detailed meteorological explanation. If you're interested in knowing how the pattern's evolving and what's taking place both locally as well as globally, this is hopefully the channel for you. But you notice here we've got this conga line, 3 areas of low pressure, one moving into Europe, the next moving in and approaching Ireland for during the course of tomorrow. Then we've got another system over the Atlantic, and you can see here that the 1051 millibar high. If you pay close attention to that area of high pressure, notice the pressure continues to rise and actually exceeds 1060 millibars. That is one heck of an area of high pressure. So by the time we reach 3 o'clock on Tuesday morning, that high is at 1063 millibars. We've got also an area of low pressure moving into Ireland here, sub 990 millibars. That is a massive pressure gradient here. And if you notice, this is the pressure difference. If I can get it here, this is the mean sea level pressure difference between the UK and across northeastern portions of Europe. That's quite a nice way of looking at that pressure differential. Then we'll go and play through this loop. Let's have a look and see what the temperature difference is as well. So this is the 2 meter temperature anomaly chart here. Let's skip back a little bit, and you can see some of those colours are representing some exceptionally cold air over eastern portions of Europe. So there's the mild air into the UK, Ireland, France, Iberia. You could almost draw a line down the centre of Europe. Very cold air over eastern portions of Europe. We're going to look at Christmas in more detail come Monday, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. See you again tomorrow with more. Bye for now.